I want to shed a couple battles here in situations around the league. First being that there are more than a few teams, not good teams I might add, but more than a few teams nonetheless who have multiple QBs on their roster that could easily be starters in this league. And not just starters, but they could experience some levels of success. The Browns, the Jets, the Colts, and the Cardinals. And 3 of these 4 teams had the exact same off-season strategy. The Browns drafted Baker, the Jets drafted Sam Darnold, and the Cardinals draft Josh Rosen. But they all brought in experienced starters in the league to possibly shepherd in these rookies, right? That is their offseason strategy. The Browns, they brought in Tyrod Taylor, a solid average QB in this league to start over Mayfield, despite drafting Baker first overall. The Jets bring in Teddy Bridgewater, and they also have Josh McCown, perhaps 3 starting quarterbacks in this league, to compete for rank despite drafting Sam Darnold third overall. And the Cardinals brought in Sam Bradford to help out Josh Rosen. And in principle, we understand why teams do this, right? They figure learning under somebody who's been there and done that will make the transition a lot easier. But recently, David, we've seen a plethora of QBs have success in this league without the help of a senior. Matt Stafford, Cam Newton, Andrew Luck, Carson Wentz, Jameis Winston, Russell Wilson, Joe Flacco, Andy Dalton, Deshaun Watson, Marcus Mariota, and Derek Carr. 11. More than a third of the starting QBs in this league were starters week 1 of their rookie year. And so what are you doing if you're the Browns, Cardinals, and Jets? I don't quite know. I don't quite know what they're doing in the sense that none of these so-called vets that they brought in are above all-pro talent. If the QB you have on your roster is not all-pro worthy, then give the rookie the nod for week 1. None of this pitter-patter bull crap, right? Scrub quarterbacks we're talking about here. Tyrod Taylor. Scrub quarterbacks. Teddy Bridgewater. He's not terrible, but he's average. Scrub quarterback. Sam Bradford. That guy's definitely a scrub. They're going to take reps away from these rookies. Right? It's okay. Jimmy Garoppolo had Tom Brady. Aaron Rodgers had Brett Favre. Dak Prescott had Tony Romo. Patrick Mahomes had Alex Smith, and Phillip Rivers even had Drew Brees. But all those guys, they all were all pros. But this new crop, these teams that we've singled out, those guys aren't all pros.
Yeah, and I'd say that if your team isn't really playing to win, like right now, and the Browns, I don't think, can play to win successfully right now. I don't think the Jets can play to win successfully. I definitely don't think the Bills can play to win successfully. I'd kind of agree. What's the point of taking away reps from a rookie quarterback? You all know how the season, or at least you have an idea of how it's going to go. You don't have super high expectations. I mean, I doubt John Dorsey is expecting to win the Super Bowl with Tyrod Taylor.
No, it would. I'd love to see it, by the way. That would be an incredible... You go from 0-16 one year to winning the Super Bowl the next year. That's perhaps the most incredible turnaround in the history of American sports. But you're right. They're messing around, and they're missing the point. If you're not in win now mode, then throw these quarterbacks in there. And what we've seen is in recent memory, in today's NFL, that's not really going to inhibit their progression. Now, in principle, it's easy to say that they're doing the right thing, right? Like I said at the start, in principle, having this guy with no experience, the future of your franchise, in principle, having him learn under somebody who has had marginal NFL success would seem like, on paper, it's the right move. But as I look at the history and as I face the facts, I think it's clear that teams like the Carolina Panthers, I believe they were 1-15 and they drafted Cam Newton, right? That was a terrible team.
Yeah.
And the Colts, they weren't much better before they drafted Andrew Luck.
They had not won a game, I believe. Was that it?
The Colts did not go defeated because only the Lions and Browns have been defeated over the past few years, but the Colts may have only won 2. My point here is even if your team is just garbage, you can draft somebody really high, perhaps like Baker, perhaps like Sam Darnold, and you can throw them in onto a terrible team, and that won't really hurt their development.
And you have so much more flexibility to build around them because they're on a rookie contract.
Absolutely, but
the
it's
best of both worlds.
It's this messing around in purgatory that I'm really not a fan of. Again, in principle, I agree that the best way to enter this league if you're a starting quarterback is backing up somebody for a couple years. I think that's the best way. But unless the guy you're backing up isn't all pro, then you should be playing if you're a first-round pick like Baker Mayfield, like Sam Darnold. And that's what I'm seeing, and that's what I'm concerned about.